Oh. Good morning, everybody. Jennifer Brennan here, and I can do some public service announcements while we're waiting to get started. I signed on a little bit early today because guess what? We have 117 people pre-registered for this presentation, and the title got changed when they listed it. I actually titled the handout "Bringing Houseplants Indoors After Their Summer Vacation," but you know, the title, the official title was bring your houseplants in and protecting them for winter. But I like my title a little bit better because the plants love to be outside on summer vacation, and I'm going to talk about why in just a few minutes. Well, actually, it says 9:48, so we have a little less than 10 minutes. Yeah, 12 minutes. I can do math. So we have 12 minutes before we get started. So we actually had an email go out this morning. All of our emails go out in the morning, and to talk about the last farm truck sale. Okay, well, there's not really a truck, but because all of the plants are inside the nursery and they're perennials, they're farm perennials that are marked at 50% off. So you just can't believe how gorgeous they look and how many there are. So the sale is, you know, is all day today. I think it goes until the product is gone. So yeah, it goes until the product's gone. So it's not like when the truck leaves, the sale is over. And that's not really what happened, you know, either. Now, this weekend, another email went out, and there's a weekend plant sale. And, you know, I'm going to check to see how many people. Oh, it's just two of us. So it's me and one other person. So I guess I'm practicing. But this plant sale this weekend is great. And it starts today, so Friday through Sunday, and it's a big plant sale. So pansies are all 20% off, and then you can buy them here at the store or online. Again, the perennials are 50% off, and these are selected perennials from the farm, and that's the farm truck sale. Then we also have 50% off the following trees and shrubs. So lilacs are all 50% off. Viburnums are all 50% off. Any flowering tree. So think about flowering trees, dogwoods, crab apples, magnolias, and then Rose of Sharon. So, and they're all tagged and they're all scattered throughout the nursery. So it's like hunt and seek. That we have people that can help you find them though too. So, and then, okay, then we have a link to the global sale collection. And then we also have our pumpkins that we've added, you know, and separately. So come and see all the great pumpkins that we have. And the mums, oh my God, the mums aren't on sale, but the mums are phenomenal. They're just cracking color. So that means they're going to stay in bloom for quite a while. So especially with this cool temperature, how about it? The last time I was on here, well, I had technical difficulties and it was hot as Hades. And so with this beautiful fall temperature, it's just so nice. It's been so nice for us humans. It's been phenomenal for our plants and phenomenal for our cool season turf grasses. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but just telling you how great and how happy I am for the weather change. So let's check here. We've got 3 people now, me and 2 others. Welcome aboard. We'll be starting in 9 minutes. And my official title for this presentation is Bringing Houseplants Indoors After Their Summer Vacation. And this is the handout that you were sent in a separate link from the Zoom link. So you can download that now and either print it or put it on a separate screen, you know, or split your screen. I've never mastered that. You know, there are a lot of people out here out there that have 2 different computers. They have a computer over here and a computer over here. They watch the program here and they have all their paperwork on this one. So I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it's tempting. It's tempting. So welcome aboard, everybody. I'm seeing more people signing on. I'm Jennifer Brennan. I'm the horticulture information specialist here at Chalet, and I've been here 30 and a half years. So it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place. So and I did announce, let me see how many people we have signed on now. Oh, we're getting more and more. Welcome, welcome. We actually have 117 people who pre-registered for this webinar. So I am thrilled that this topic is such a popular topic. And I don't know if it's popular or just necessary. And we still have time. The average date of the first hard freeze in Chicago, this area, is October 15. So I always say we have till October 15 to get all of our plants moved inside. And I have a great plan that you're gonna really enjoy seeing today on how to do it, and how to do it easily, and how to do it efficiently, and how to do it successfully. So that's kind of the goal, isn't it? So let me check again. More and more people are signing on. My wonderful Yeti. I'm using my this is my cold water, ice water Yeti right now. I do a fun workout. I started this 2 years ago, and people think I'm crazy, but it's the best thing I've ever done for myself. I get up 3 mornings a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I get up at 5:30, and I get to the studio at 6, and we start at 6:15, and then we work out for 30 minutes, and then I come home and get ready and come to work. And this week was muscle endurance. Oh my goodness. I have a t-shirt now that says everything hurts and I'm dying because my muscles are so sore. But it's really been good for me. I've got more strength, more stamina. My mind is brighter than it's been in years. So there's really something to say by doing that. Okay, we've got more people signed on. It is 5 minutes till. The handout was sent in a separate link, and the handout is titled Bringing Houseplants Indoors After Their Summer Vacation, rather than the title that was listed on our webpage was, preparing the houseplants for winter, to bring them back in for winter. But it matches, and all of the words that are going to be on the PowerPoint are on the handout, so you don't have to break your wrist taking notes. Excuse me. I chugged some water and it went down the wrong pipe just before I talk. Isn't that smart? Not smart. Okay. All right, we have 4 minutes to go. And the numbers are ticking up there, the people that are signing on. We had 117 people pre-register for this webinar. And I announced some public service announcements about the farm truck sale this week. There's not a farm truck here. The farm truck came in yesterday, and we unloaded all of the beautiful perennials from the farm. We have selected perennials straight from the farm that are 50% off, and they look gorgeous. So this is still a wonderful time to plant perennials. And when you get them at a discount, oh my gosh, it's even better. So be sure and come in. And the sale is today, but in the past, whatever's left over from the sale is still sold at the sale price for the whole weekend. But they're going to go fast. And when I was walking over here to set up for the lecture, people were coming in going, "Where's the farm truck? Where's the farm truck?" So it's inside, and all the plants are on racks in the perennial section of the nursery. Okay, people are really signing on quick. I have one question that has come up. I'm going to look at it, but what I normally will do Is this being recorded? Will it be available in the future? Oh, that's a great question. Galen, it's Galen. This is recorded, and all of our webinars are on the Chalet YouTube channel. And you can go to our webpage. Thank you for that great question. You can go to our webpage, and up in the upper corner, I'm going to put this back down, up in the upper right-hand corner is that rectangular icon box that is the YouTube, and it has that arrow that's pointing that way. You click on it and it goes straight to the Chalet channel, and all of our webinars are listed, and you can watch them anytime you want, and you can watch them over and over again, but they're all available. And this one will be posted at the close of business today. They're usually posted by the end of the day that they're delivered. So great question. But in going forward, I'm going to do the presentation first, and then I'll answer all your questions and answers afterwards. And do me a favor and put it in the Q&A file or area rather than the chat box. It's much easier to keep track of them when I'm answering them. Oh, there's my timer reminding me that it's time to start. So that also means I need to mute my phone. So I'm muting my phone. Here we go. And we'll start in 1 minute to go. It looks like, oh, the numbers are really ticking up there. We had 117 people that signed up with an interest to this webinar. I am so honored. I'm so honored. And everybody, the handout is a 3-page handout. It was sent I think it was this morning also, or maybe I think it was this morning. And then I was announcing about, we do have a farm truck email went out, but there's no truck today. The plants are perennials, beautiful perennials from our farm, and they're 50% off. They're selected perennials directly from the farm at 50% off. And I think there's like 15 different ones. And then we're also having a wonderful, the numbers really ticked up. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm Jennifer Brennan, the Horticulture Information Specialist, and I'm just doing public service announcements. It is now 10 o'clock, so we can officially get started. This weekend, I'll mention again, we're having a farm truck sale, but there's no truck today. The truck came down yesterday and unloaded, I think it's 15 different perennials from the farm, and they are 50% off. What an incredible value to do. And it's still a perfect time to plant. Our soil temperatures have actually been going down. And as of yesterday, they were 63 degrees from a high of 85 2.5 weeks ago. So it's almost time. It is time. You can plant your bulbs now. 60 degrees is the number that you want the soil temperature to be, so that the bulbs will be happy when you put them in the ground. But then we also have a big sale coming on this weekend. Pansies are 20% off through Sunday. Again, the perennials, the selected perennials from the farm, those are the farm truck plants, are 50% off. They're also, the following trees and shrubs are 50% off. And lilacs, think flowering trees and shrubs, lilacs, viburnums, all the flowering trees like crab apples, magnolias, dogwoods, lilacs, if we have the lilac tree form, and then rose of Sharon. All of those are 50% off, and they're tagged throughout the nursery. So it's not one big sale area. You just kind of have to hunt and seek. And we have sales reps that can help you find them, and facilitators that can help you find them. And then not on sale, but for the season, we have wonderful pumpkins and bales of straw, medium size, and little tiny ones, little small ones, corn stalks. And our mums are phenomenal. You got to come in. Our mums are real tight bud, just cracking a little bit of color, which means they'll last, and they're going to bloom a long time. And now that it's cooler, they'll really bloom a long time. Any of them that you bought 2 or 3 weeks ago are going to be gone just like that. So the ones that are here now are the perfect ones to keep your fall garden looking great. So I'm going to go ahead And since I did the public service announcements, I'm going to check to see. Ooh, those numbers are clicking up there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chalet's virtual learning center. And the webinar today, my title on the handout is Bringing Houseplants Indoors After Their Summer Vacation. But the official title is Getting Houseplants Ready for Winter. And then I'm going to share the screen. Here we go. And there's my PowerPoint. Okay, and we're going to share it. All right, starting it up. I have to do this for a minute. I gotta move this. Okay, I'm back on there we go. And let's move this back up here. Now we're ready to go. Okay, I'm gonna move this over here. Perfect. Okay. Now, here it is, bringing houseplants indoors after their summer vacation. All right, the background photo here. These are two of my houseplants that go outside for the summer. They love a summer vacation. And that big fern in the back is a fern that I was given when I was, I think I was 15 years old. I was visiting my grandmother in a little town called Mount Carmel, Illinois, and it was an oil town, back in the day. And so there was a block away from my grandmother's house were all these beautiful mansions. And this one, we used to always walk whenever we go visit grandma, we'd walk around and go see the houses, and let's go look at the houses. And this one has a great big gazebo, and this same fern was underneath the gazebo, and it's enormous. This is a huge fern. And I was just standing there. I discovered houseplants. That was back in the 70s. I discovered houseplants, and I was just in awe of this beautiful fern. And this elderly woman came out of her house, and in her house coat, her house dress, and she saw me just Googling that fern, and she goes, "She's a beauty, isn't she?" And she walked over to me and she goes, "Do you want to start?" I didn't know what she was talking about. She grabbed a tea towel off her clothesline, dunked it in the rain barrel, and then just reached into that fern and ripped a whole chunk of the fern out, wrapped the tea towel around it, said, "This should be fine till you get it potted up. Just use a really good, potting soil." And so I've had it ever since, and I've actually had it and divided it. So I technically have 3 of them that look like this. Here, let's keep going. Okay. Oh, I don't want to do that. What did I do? Just when I think I'm doing a good job. Okay, why is this not doing this? There we go. Okay, now these are the houseplants that are at Chalet that are outside enjoying their summer vacation. So you can see the beautiful selection. The dracaenas over here on the far left, the fiddle leaf figs, and then the striped dracaenas in the lower left, and then the phenomenal sansevierias or mother-in-law's tongues. They have just incredible cultivars these years, and then the palms down below. Just beautiful. And they all need to go inside because they're not going to survive our winter temperatures. Okay, here are the 2 different ferns that go outside. I have a third one that just stays inside my sunroom. And then this Monstera philodendron, it's actually 2 different ones. And I had to cut it back, and then it all regrew this summer, so outside for that summer vacation. So I have to get these guys ready to go back in the house. All right. Oh, I'm kind of bragging. This is my Bear's seedless lime. That is not a typo. The trade name is Bear's seedless lime, and it is a phenomenal lime. And I have the size that you can see how big the plant is. It's in a 24-inch container, and then it is 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. And it lives in my dining room at a west window all winter and does well because of the full sun coming in. And then these are the limes that they produce. They are so yummy. The rind is so thin, and the limes are so juicy, and there's no seeds in them. Oh my gosh. And because I'm a tequila snob, I'm now añejo, and so I drink añejo tequila. So my great aunt gave me a beautiful silver engraved flask, and it was hers when she passed away. She gave it to me before she died, but you know, it was, and so I fill it with my añejo tequila whenever I go anywhere, because you can't ever count on getting good quality tequila when you go to parties. And well, when we used to go to parties, that was the old day. Anyway, so I've now started carrying my own limes too, because I don't trust who's cutting the limes and all that. But my husband teases me because I have this gorgeous flask, but then I get my limes out of a baggie out of my purse. He thinks I need to get a classier container for my limes. But here's my bare seedless lime. The cool thing about this plant is the leaves. If you don't have any fruit, if you've used all your limes, you can take the leaves and it's called muddling. You crush them up, put them in and steep them in boiling water, and you get the flavor of the lime. So you can make mojitos even in the middle of winter if you don't have a lime on hand. Okay, this is my Meyer lemon. And my Meyer lemon, look at all the lemons I have on it. And this is just one branch and those lemons aren't ripe yet. And then you can see the whole plant. This is out on my patio with my patio furniture. And you can see the new growth on the plant. There's a little bit yellow, because I haven't been as religious about adding my acidifying solution. And the acidifying solution is your fertilizer solution with 1 cup of black liquid coffee added to it. And that's to 1 gallon. And that lowers the pH enough so that those leaves will turn bright green again. But that was the new growth that developed on the plant after I put it out. I didn't get them out until midsummer this summer, but they love being out there. And one of the benefits of putting them outside is they really recharge. I always put my rosemary outside. And so anytime you put your plants outside in the summer sun, they really recharge. They put a lot of energy in their roots, and it makes them so much more resilient for lasting the winters indoors. And I love this rosemary because I use it for cooking a lot, especially on lamb and lamb chops. Oh gosh, there's nothing. Oh, and then I have a great recipe for yams. They're not candied. You do them in the microwave, and you do fresh sprigs of rosemary and a whole like the cloves of garlic from 2 bulbs of garlic, and then you put them in the microwave, and then release all those garlic cloves and serve it with salt and pepper. Oh my, and olive oil. Oh gosh, it's so delicious. I'm hungry. Can you tell? Okay, so now the benefit of outdoor life for houseplants, they love to go outdoors on vacation just as much as we like to go on vacation. The warm air, the refreshing rain, the unfiltered sunlight just really rejuvenates all the plants that you put them outside. When they're outside, they're really able to store enough energy that they'll keep looking good throughout the winter months. And the stored energy is carbohydrates in the root system, just like our plants outside do. But by early October, it's time to get them ready and get them back inside. And that's because the fall curfew is the date of the first average frost here in Chicago. And that's October 15th. So usually when the night temperatures dip below 45 degrees, that's the signal to you to really get in gear to get your plants ready to move back inside. Most tropical plants will suffer damage when the temperatures drop below 40. A few of them are even sensitive when the temperatures go below 50. Those are any of the ficus family. They can be real fussy about that. So gradual reintroduction is best. And when we say that, that means that when the night temperatures are below the indoor temperatures, which are usually 70 degrees inside. I have a sunroom that I keep at 65 and 60 in the middle of winter. So I can be a little generous leaving the plants outside to enjoy a little more sunshine because the room I keep them in is very cool. So, and whenever you want to try to avoid big changes from where they were living outside to where they're living inside. So that's the gradual reintroduction. So again, sudden changes in temperature and light and humidity can really be traumatic for plants. So, so be aware of that. And I'm going to show you how to remedy that. Okay, usually the results that happen is that you get yellowing leaves, and the yellow leaves are the ones that are lower on the plant. They're the older leaves. And then you also get some dieback and or wilting, or sometimes even death if they're really shocked. So the timing dilemma is controlled by the weather. And I always am in this dilemma because I want to take advantage of the late, warm, sunny days as long as possible. Especially since I got my plants out late this summer, I want them to be able to soak up as much sunshine as they possibly can. Number one, to ripen my limes and ripen my lemons. But so I'm always racing against that hard freeze time clock. So, but for less stress, you move the plants inside before you've turned your furnaces on. That's a really good rule of thumb. So, so then they're not going to be that shocked. Now, this is a warning. If you don't get them in time, this is what happens. This is what happens to an aloe vera that stays outside when there's a hard freeze. What happens is all the water in the tissues of the plants freeze. And then when it freezes, all the cells rupture. And so this poor aloe vera is gone. This is one of the hybrid ficus, or the hybrid figs. And boy, they hate it. They hate to freeze. And you can see how all those leaves are browned. The majority of those leaves are going to drop off. There is a good chance that the buds and the woody stems didn't freeze to death, so they could come back. But when it looks this bad, it's not a good sign. This is what happens to orchids if you leave them out. And some of the orchids don't mind staying out when the temperatures are getting into the low 40s and upper 30s, but don't let them freeze, because you can see their tissues hold a lot of water too. And when that water freezes, it ruptures them. So all of the pseudobulbs in this one orchid on the left froze, and then you can see the tip of the leaf that froze. This was a Phalaenopsis. So don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. So you need to get ready for the move. And the number one thing is, I know, and people hate it when I tell you this, clean the windows inside and out, because you'll be amazed at how much more light gets through clean windows. And we used to have photometers, and you could meter how much light was coming in, and the difference was usually about 100 to 150 foot candles of light, the difference between dirty windows and clean windows. Okay, so now repot the plants only if they really need it. That means if they grew so much that the pot's tipping over, or if they're so root bound that you have to water more than 2 times a week to prevent them from wilting. And then if you do repot, you want to use sterilized potting mix and clean containers. And my favorite to recommend is our Chalet potting mix. And so we were out of it for a while this summer. It's come back in. It's been improved. We've added coir to it, and coir is coconut fiber. So there's coir, there's long fiber sphagnum, short fiber sphagnum, composted bark, and perlite, and that's it. And it's wonderful. Oh, excuse me. And it's pre-moistened. It's pre-moistened with yucca juice. So it keeps it moist. It's moist out of the bag, so you don't have to worry about transplant shock when you repot with dry potting mix. Now, if you can build wide shelves in front of windows or purchase a plant etagere, that helps to get the plants up in the light rather than sitting on the floor, reaching for the light. Add ceiling hooks for hanging pots. Plan to increase the humidity around the plants. That means using humidity trays that are filled with gravel and water. My favorite, though, and the most reliable, is to just splurge and get even an inexpensive room humidifier. And even if there's a humidifier attached to the furnace, people always say to me, "Oh, I have the humidifier in my furnace." It's not good enough. You want that room humidifier in the room where your plants are, and the difference it makes, especially when we get into the dead of winter, when the furnace is blowing nonstop and the ambient humidity drops, that humidifier makes all the difference in the world. Misting, don't waste your time. You have to be compulsive for it to do anything. The water just dissipates within 20 seconds after you spray the plants. And then I don't like it because it leaves water spotting on the leaves that you have to clean later. So, I don't encourage people to waste their time on that. Here's showing how to clean your windows, and both sides, both sides. You're going to be amazed at the difference. Repotting the plants, and you can see when the plants are root bound. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, because a lot of plants like to be root bound, and they will bloom better if they're root bound, and we call them root bound or pot bound. The only time you really need to repot is if a lot of roots are growing out of the bottom drainage hole, and or if the plant is wilting. One of the horticulture terms is flagging. If the plant flags before you rewater it, then that means it's probably time to put it in a bigger pot that has more soil, or just do the repotting technique. And this is the link to one of the chalet YouTube videos, and that's me talking about the two different techniques for repotting a houseplant. And you can repot it to let it, if you want it to get bigger, by putting it into a larger pot. You never go more than 2 inches increase in diameter, because by going more than 2 inches, you have too much soil and wet soil around the root ball, and that can set the plant up for the water molds that cause root rot. So never more than 2 inches increase in diameter. If you don't want the plant to get larger, then what you do is you take the plant out of its pot, the existing pot, and then you're going to cut 2 inches off the bottom of the root ball. You feel like Attila the Hun, but this is the best thing to do. Set the root ball back up, and then you can cut 1 inch off all around, but that's hard to do around a circle. So I just tell people to cut 1 inch off the north side, the south side, the east side, and the west side. And then you're going to set that. You're going to fill the fresh potting mix in the bottom of the existing pot. You can wash the pot if you want to, but fresh potting mix, and because the top of the root ball should always stay at the same level. Roots grow down and out, never up. So you never need to put more soil or potting mix on top of that root ball. So it goes underneath, set the plant on top of it, and then make sure that the top of the root ball is 1 inch to a 1/2 inch below the edge of the pot, and then fill fresh potting mix along the sides, firming it down so there's no air pockets, and then having it the same level as the top of the root ball all the way across the top of the pot. Okay, now here's the room humidifier. I just think this is the best investment that you can have for your house plants, and it's great for you as a human too. And and then there's an example of having a tray with stones, and then you can have water that just fills up to the top of the stones, and then that water evaporates, increasing the humidity around the foliage of the plants. So either is great. My preference is the humidifier, and that's what I use in my house. Now you want to clean up the houseplants while they're outdoors. Now this is an indoor example with the photos, but I like doing it outside so I can use the hose, and I can hose things off, wipe off the leaves if there's any residue from spraying with the insecticides and the fungicides, and then also do the underneath side, and it also helps you discover if you've got any insects. So here you go. Now So you want to inspect the leaves for insects and diseases. Now, you're going to be using a systemic insecticide in the soil. And this is the bonide granular systemic insecticide. And the effects last for 30 days. It also will kill any larva of fungus gnats that is in the soil. It also kills any ants and any like pillbugs or any of those ride along insects. It will kill them as soon as and you're going to sprinkle 2.5 tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons of the product for every 6 inches of pot diameter. So from the end of my thumb to the edge of my palm, that's 6 inches. And, so if it's a 12-inch pot, it's going to be 5 tablespoons. And you're going to sprinkle that over the surface and then water through it. You're going to pour the water through those granules so it dissolves the insecticide and takes it down into the root zone. Then the roots are going to absorb it, take it up to the tips of the branches, and it will stay in the plant for 2 whole months, killing insects that are sucking the juices of the plant. Then I also like to encourage people to spray while they're outside with BioAdvance 3-in-1 insect disease and mite control. I'm going to show you photos of these so you'll have a memory of that. And that comes in a ready-to-use spray bottle or ready-to-spray hose-in sprayer. I have all those plants outside that I showed you, so I use the hose-in sprayer so I can get them. I can spray them all in like 10 minutes. Now you can also use the BioAdvance Rose and Flower insecticide. It comes in a ready-to-use spray bottle only. And it is cleared for use indoors and outdoors. So if you do get an insect outbreak, and the insects are on the leaves or the stems, it's better to spray right on the insects to really reduce the populations. And that one you can use indoors and outdoors. The 3-in-1 insect disease and mite is recommended to be used only outdoors. So, so I always use it. I sprayed all of mine last month, and I'm going to spray them again the end of this month before I move them inside. Now, the organic alternative, and this is what I'll be using on my rosemary, since I don't want to use a systemic on it, on my limes and lemons, is either an insecticidal soap or a pyrethrin-based insecticide. And I like the pyrethrin-based insecticide. The 8 in the small spray bottle is sulfur and pyrethrin. And you want to spray it 2 to 3 times every 2 to 3 days apart to make sure you're killing the insects before you bring them inside. Okay, again, use that 1 week before. I do it 1 month before, and then 1 week before I bring them inside. So just before the move inside, you want to check the plant again just to make sure there's no other insects. And then, if you have to spray it and isolate it, make sure you do that. And then you want to check the plants weekly once you get them inside to make sure that systemic insecticide is working, effectively. And here's what you're going to be looking for. This is like the Rocky Horror Picture Show of plant insects. You're not going to be able to see this 2-spotted spider mite like that. And those are eggs next to those little round circles are the eggs, or they look like balls. And you can see the 2 spots. And when you bring a sample into me here at Chalet, I can put it under the microscope and we can see this up close. And I have the camera on the scope, so you'll be able to see these guys. And they're usually moving all over the place. It takes scientific detachment to not be totally grossed out. Okay, and my story about whenever I have kids, I always tell them that when you're a scientist, you never say, oh, gross. And you always say, how interesting. This is an incredible specimen. And so I'm going to have you all practice saying that too. What you will be seeing with your naked eye are these symptoms. When you look at the underneath side of the leaf, you can see kind of that kind of dusty litter that's underneath there. You'll see this stippling effect on the leaf. Look over at the lower left-hand side. You can see the yellow, we call that stippling. It's like an artist that does dotting, when they do their artwork. And it's called yellow stippling. And that's where the spider mites have a mouth part that's like a needle, and they insert the needle into the leaf, suck a section dry, and that's what's yellow. And then they just move all over the leaf. And then you can sometimes see this fine webbing. And people think they're going to see a huge spider web. No, it's this fine webbing. And then a lot of times you'll see white pieces or maybe even brown pieces, which is the carcasses of the insects. There's sometimes actually the spider mites crawling on that webbing, but that's the lower right-hand photo. So that's what you're going to be looking for spider mites. The other thing is stickiness. They excrete honeydew, which is their excrement, because they're sucking so much of the juices of the plants, and they're trying to get the enzymes of the plant. So they have to drink a lot of the juices, and that's a lot of sugar. So when they excrete, it's very sticky, and and I haven't tasted it. I'm sure it's sugary, but we politely call it honeydew. Okay. Now aphids, this is a gross infestation of aphids. And no, I'm supposed to say, how interesting, what a great specimen. But they're all feeding, they're all upside down, which is pretty interesting. And you can see their tails with the two stipules sticking out of them. And so they're all feeding on the youngest tip of the plant. They like that and the buds, but also the underneath sides of the leaves. These are whiteflies. Usually it's rare if you see whiteflies sitting on a leaf like this. Usually when you get close enough to a leaf like this, they're flying away. And what you really see are the nymphs, which look like see-through scales on the underneath sides of the leaves. And it's the nymphs that are doing the feeding. All that the whiteflies do, they don't do feeding after they become an adult. They only lived about 10 days. They mate and then come back and lay eggs again. So, so if you have them, you want to use the yellow sticky traps inside, and they're attracted to that yellow and they stick, and it kills them. But the systemic insecticides work beautifully to control whiteflies. One of the plants that always gets whiteflies are hibiscus. It's kind of a given. If you have hibiscus, you're always going to have whiteflies. So treat to preventatively. Okay, mealybugs. Mealybugs are white insects. I'm sorry I don't have a close-up, but I thought I did. They're white insects that kind of look fuzzy, but then they also exude this cottony protective covering over them. So usually what you notice when you have mealybugs is stickiness, the honeydew, and then also the white cottony mass. And this is a pretty bad, bad sample. And then you can see on the lowest leaf, the leaf that's on the bottom, see the black, the black covering on that is black sooty mold, and that's a mold that feeds on the honeydew. So you kind of have both oftentimes at the same time. And then this is scale, two different types of scale. We've got soft scale and hard scale, and they're on the underneath sides of the leaves and also on the stem. So this is one that a lot of people overlook because they think it's just part of the bark. But what make you realize that you have this problem is, again, that honeydew. All of these sucking insects release honeydew because they're sucking the juices of the plant and then they release it. So the insecticides work on all the last insects. The only thing that will kill spider mites is a miticide or sulfur. Okay, so just be really aware of that your basic insecticide is not going to take care of spider mites. All right, so here is the systemic. This is the Bonide systemic granules. It comes, we got it in this great big large size. I think it's 4 pounds. I think it's a 4-pound jug. And since you use so much of it, this is a great value. We also have it in a 1 pound. We also have it in a half-pound jar size. And this is just showing how it has the shaker top. I like to measure it, with a measuring spoon. So I get the exact amount, 2.5 in tablespoons on a 6-inch diameter pot like that bonsai pot. Okay. Oh, why did I do that? Here we go. Sorry about this. Okay, now this is the BioAdvance 3-in-1 insect disease and mite control. And it comes in the ready-to-use spray bottle, and it has the same insecticide. It's imidacloprid. It's in the granules. It has tebuconazole, which is a phenomenal fungicide. Now then the miticide is talfenuzole, and the miticide and the insecticide stay in the sprayed leaves for 30 days. The fungicide lasts for 2 weeks, so 14 days. So, but the cool thing about this product is it's called a translaminar systemic. And what happens is you spray one surface of the leaf right here, and then it's pulled through the mesophyll cells all the way to the bottom side of the leaf. So cool. And it stays in for 30 days. I love this stuff. It's one of the best inventions that we have. And here we go. And then you can see this ready to use spray bottle on the left. And then this is the hose in spray bottle or spray that attaches to a hose. The hand sprayer, the spray bottle is enough to cover 34 rose plants that are 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So that would be enough to cover 34 houseplants that are 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. And then the hose end is enough to cover 192 plants. It's a concentrate. So once you use it on your plants outside and your garden, your garden plants, put it someplace where it won't freeze and thaw over winter, and you get 3 to 5 years of use out of that. So great value, very great value. Now here's the organic alternative I was talking about. So 8, and I love the 8 because it has a pyrethrin in it. So it's a pyrethrin in an insecticidal soap, but we also have the straight insecticidal soap. I believe in chemistry, so I like to use the pyrethrin. And the pyrethrin, and this actually has, I think, this just has the pyrethrin in it. We have another product that has the sulfur and pyrethrin, so it will take care of spider mites and you know what? The new 8 that we have on the shelf it has sulfur and pyrethrin in it. So it takes care of spider mites and insects. Okay, now you want to also be on the lookout in the pots for these other inhabitants like ants. I didn't put a picture of ants up. Everyone knows what ants look like. Pillbugs, that's up on the upper left-hand side. Centipedes, that they have 100 legs, and they're in that's on the upper right-hand side. Slugs down the lower right-hand side, and then earwigs. And I found this cool photo that with earwigs and the eggs is kind of gross, but these, you want to use the granular, sprinkle it over the soil, and it's going to kill these guys when they're in here. It won't kill the slug, but if you find slugs, either kill them, or you can also sprinkle sluggo on top of the soil, and the slugs will eat it. It will kill their appetite and they'll die. So, okay. The alternative method, I'm not so fond of this, but you'll see this online. You'll read this in houseplant books, is to soak the plants in a tub of water for 15 minutes only. Longer than that, you'll kill the roots. But what happens is you want to do this outside and stick this. This had a couple of drops of dishwashing solution in it too. I don't want you to do that. But what happens is the insects escape out of the soil and usually jump out of the top and swim through the water and jump out. So you want to do this outdoors. Don't do it indoors, because all the insects will come out in your house. So do this outside. I'm not real fond of this. I'd rather see you use the insecticide. But if you've got edibles, like my rosemary, I'm not going to use the systemic on it. So I'm gonna check on it. Now, the next time you repot the plants, if you don't want to worry about the insects getting in the soil the next time they go out for summer vacation, cover the drainage hole with a piece of wire screening. And these are wire screens that have been cut, pieces of screen door that have been cut, and you're just going to cover the drainage hole and then put your potting mix in and plant the plants up. But this is a neat trick. This is a real neat trick. And they actually have companies that make these and cut these pieces, so it's really handy. Now you want to fertilize one more time while they're outside. I put the Dynagrow Grow in. I use this year round. I actually also like using the granular Dr. Earth fertilizer on things like my lime and my lemon. And I used one more application, so it lasts a month in those plants. When you use the Dr. Earth granular, like the Bud and Bloom Booster or the Rose and Flower fertilizer, it lasts 60 days in the ground, but 30 days in a pot, because you water the pot more frequently. So you want to do this do this. I love the Dynagrow. It's my absolute favorite because it is just so well balanced, and it works synergistically. It has the 795. It has that higher phosphorus. So if it's a flowering plant, I'll keep it in flower. But it also has 11 micronutrients. And here are all the micronutrients. And this is on the back side of the label. You can see it has calcium, magnesium, sulfur, boron, chlorine, cobalt, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, say that 3 times fast, nickel, sodium, and zinc. And all of these work synergistically. I'm so proud that I know Dr. David Neal, who is the inventor of the Dynagrow series. And this is the best. And you use this at a half a teaspoon, which is that cap at the top, in a gallon of water. And then I mentioned this earlier, especially citrus plants and gardenias, they like it more acidic. So you in that gallon of solution that you mix with the Dynagrow in it, you add 1 8-ounce cup of liquid black coffee, no cream, no sugar, and it lowers the pH. Our alkaline water, it's 7.2 to 7.8. That coffee will actually bring it down to close to 7 or a little bit lower. And the plants love it. The plants absolutely love it. Okay, so now the next question is, do you need to prune? You want to prune or not prune? I usually don't encourage people to prune too much because pruning stimulates new growth. When you're bringing a plant into indoors, where as the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and you have lower and lower light, that's when you prune, it's going to stimulate the buds right below the end of where it's pruned. Those new shoots could get, they could stretch and grow and elongate too much based on the lower light levels and the shorter days. So unless you really have to prune, if the plant has grown too much to fit in its former place indoors, then go ahead and prune the branches back. One of the classics is I overwinter a mandevilla vine, and they grow like 20 feet outside. So I prune it back and to bring it inside, and because you have to, but otherwise it's best, you don't want to prune more than 1/3 off the length of the branches. And it's really better to wait to prune in after winter before you're going to bring it back outside again. So if you can live with the way it's grown, then it's better, but if you just have to, use a good quality pruning shears, pruning shear, and prune to buds that face outward, not grow into the center of the plant. Okay. And follow that rule of 1/3. Okay, so now it's time to move them inside. And usually it's when we get that first hard frost warning that, I try to leave work early to get home because I haven't moved my plants in time. And I spend the whole evening moving them inside like a crazy woman. But you shouldn't do that. You should kind of get them in, so to prevent the shock when bringing the plants indoors, you want to expose the plant gradually to the reduced lighting. Realize that shade under a shade tree outside is brighter than a sunny window indoors. Okay, so when the light levels are lower, you want to expose the plants, you want to expose the plants to lower temperatures to reduce their metabolism. So that's why I love my 65-degree sunroom, and I leave it at 60 degrees during the winter time. So when the lights are the sun is lower and the days are grayer, the plants they're not stretching for light because they're not growing as quickly. So the other advantage of keeping it in lower light levels is that you reduce the risk of spider mite eggs hatching. They will hatch. They like it when it's hot. To them, it's 72 degrees. So when you have that cooler temperature and higher humidity, like running the humidifier, then you don't have nearly the problem with spider mites again. Okay, and it's best if they've been in high light outside, put them in similar light indoors, like a south window or a west window, and then gradually move them to lower light levels after they've acclimated a bit. You can also use a plant light to supplement the low light levels. And 16 hours of exposure a day is the equivalent of a day of full sun outside. So use a timer for best results. I put my lights on a timer, it goes on, they go on at 6 in the morning, and then they go off at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And that's 16 hours. Okay, so the plant lights, we've got a really good collection of the LED lights here at Chalet. So, and we have them in the red light versus the blue light effect. So the red lights actually will help plants go into bloom. Blue light helps foliage, helps foliage. So, this is probably more, um, well, the people that are interested in red light and blue light know who they are and they know what crop they're growing. But it also works for flowering plants, flowering house plants. Okay, so now when you're acclimating the plants back indoors, do expect some of the leaves to turn yellow, and to fall off, because the ones that formed in the sun will not be as efficient in lower light. And the reason for that is the chlorophyll cells orient vertically. So if this is a chlorophyll cell, it's this vertical. So you can see it's a smaller surface area at the top of the leaf, and it's fuller going down. In shadier situations or lower light levels, the chlorophyll cells orient horizontally. So then the leaves are larger in surface area and thinner. They're much thicker in full sunny areas. So you're going to have the plants are going to be changing the types of leaves they're making once they move back inside, for the winter time. And so a lot of times you'll have older leaves that are lower in the canopy of the plant or lower on the branches that were formed in sunnier locations. And then as the outer canopies filling out with the larger, thinner leaves, the plant will balance its checkbook saying, hey, you know what? We just don't have enough light to go around. So you all guys that formed in the sun, we're going to make you jump overboard because we just can't afford to keep you. I wish I balanced my checkbook as well as plants balance their checkbooks. But what will happen is they shut down. There's two pipelines that go into each leaf. There's the xylem right here. There's two pipelines. So the xylem, which is the water, and it's one way, roots out, roots out, roots out to the leaves. And then there's the phloem, and it's two ways. The leaves photosynthesize, and then they send those sugars and those carbohydrates back down to the roots. It's like paying the roots. The roots give them the nutrients and the minerals, and so it goes back and forth. Well, when a leaf has been designated to jump overboard, they shut the water down just a little bit. It's like a trickle, like when you brush your teeth and you want to save water, you just let the water trickle. So the water's just trickling in. Those leaves realize they've been designated to jump ship. And so then the tips turn brown, and then they're letting all those water soluble nutrients and minerals pull out. And as soon as they're all out, the leaves turn yellow. It's nitrogen that moves the quickest because it's water soluble. When all the nitrogen's out, those leaves turn yellow. And then in an incision layer, when the plant realizes they got everything they need, when they say, before you jump, guys, empty your pockets, then they set up an incision layer where the stem attaches to the trunk, and then the leaf drops off. So don't worry, new leaves are forming and to take the place. So this is a great example, and you see this on pothos. This is a pothos, and you see this all the time where the lower leaves start to turn yellow and then drop off, and people panic whenever they see a yellow leaf. But this is just this plant balancing its checkbook. Okay, and then I wanted to show you the scientific view of the chlorophyll cells. These are the mesophyll section of a leaf. So you have the lamen on top and the lamen on the bottom. You can see the cute little stomate, and then you see the mesophyll cells, and then the chlorophyll is in the cytoplast cell right in there, and you can see how they're oriented. Okay. And then do not overwater when you move them back inside. Indoor plants will not require as much water as they did outdoors, especially this summer when it was so hot. We were having to water our houseplants outside at least once a day, sometimes twice a day when we had that high heat and that high wind. So, but you want to make sure you let most plants like to have the soil surface get dry to the touch before watering again. So I tell people, it's like when you first dated somebody, you stayed in touch every day. So I'm saying, touch that soil every day to see how the plant is doing to its new location, how it's acclimating. And so, you want to water enough so that the water goes through to the saucer. And so you want to make sure you're hydrating the whole root ball and all of that soil. Now, you don't ever want to allow the plants to sit in a saucer of water for more than 15 minutes, or it will kill roots, especially at the bottom of the pot. Even if you just leave a quarter of an inch of water in the saucer, you'll have standing water in the bottom 2 inches of the pot, and it will kill those roots. Now, a lot of times plants say, I don't like this, but I'll adjust, and they just don't have any roots down the very bottom. It's not good because if it stays waterlogged for a long period of time, the water molds will flourish. Those are Pythium and Rhizoctonia. Those are the classic root rot fungi. So you really don't want to encourage that. You can use a turkey baster to suction the water out of the saucer if the plant's too large to lift, or you can place the pot on top of 2 or 3 bricks that are horizontal in the pot and keep it elevated above where the water is standing. There's also a cool tool called the down under plant stand. I'm showing you yellowing leaves from overwatering. This is the down under plant stand, and you can see it fits in its saucer. You see that saucer, it sits down in the saucer. It can be reduced in diameter by snapping those sections off of, and it can reduce down to a 10-inch saucer. And what I love about this larger one is it's 1.5 inches elevation off the bottom. So you can have as much as 1.5 inches of water sitting in the bottom of that saucer, increasing the ambient humidity around the plant. I'm going to go back for a minute. Now, I love these. It's such a great investment to do that. There are smaller versions, but they're only 1/2 inch elevation. So be cautious when you're purchasing those. If you want the advantage of 1.5 inches, so you don't have to ever worry about your plants sitting in water, then go with the big one and just snap them down to the smaller size. Now you want to water succulents and cactus even less frequently than the foliage plants, and keep them cool. Put them in a cool, the brightest location you can keep them, and then water less frequently. So that means on succulents and cacti in the middle of winter, like December and January, once a month. But the flowering houseplants, you might have to reduce it down to once every 2 weeks. I like to keep my plants on a once a week schedule, so that they're on my schedule rather than their schedule. So again, if it's really cloudy, if we get a whole series of gray days, you might want to reduce the watering, but also keep in touch. Don't worry about one of those soil probes. People stick them too deep. Just get trained to feel how the water, the soil surface is, if it's dry to the top, touch, it's time to water. And by doing that, oxygen goes in and replaces and fills in where the water is evaporating out or actually being used, absorbed by the plant. Okay, they're the lower leaves. This is a plant that was sitting in water, and it's showing that to you. There's that down under plant stand. And then we're at the end. It's 10 minutes. Gosh, I did a good job today. And this is my closing thought. May your plants fit back inside comfortably. And once you start moving plants in, to get them all in, if you're like me, I either added too many new plants, my plants got too big, they never fit back inside comfortably. But isn't this, I loved how this were set up, and I love this plant rack. I thought that was really fun. And then this over on the right is just a lovely display and presentation of just a gorgeous collection of plants. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to escape the and do this. Then we're going to stop sharing. There we go. I'm back. How fun. And then let's go to the questions and answer area here. Oh, you all are doing such a great job sticking with the question and answer area. Okay, Maria, can you buy the lime and lemon trees at Chalet? Hey, Maria, yes, there's still some here. Yes, there's still some here. We had a lot, in the summertime, but there's still, I think there's still both outside in the sales yard. And yeah, absolutely. Good question. They're so much fun. Oh, and if you buy one, come and see me, because I'll give you the recipe for the lemon cake that my mom always made me for my birthday. And it's delicious. Okay, and this is, I think it's Gila. Walney, how to bring in succulents and cacti. Same way, the same way. You just want to treat them with the systemic insecticide. If you see, look closely for mealybugs. They're really susceptible to getting mealybugs, and look closely for those. If you see them, I would spray with both the 3-in-1 disease, insect, and miticide, or the rose and flower ready to use spray, but definitely systemic, and they're easy. They're easy. Okay, great question. Okay, and this is Peggy. Is it Bustamante? I like that name. I have a huge rubber tree that's very old. It's about 7 feet tall. I'd like to cut it back. What is the best way to shorten it? Oh, that's an easy one. You're going to remove a third of remember the rule of 3. You're going to remove a third of the length of the branches, come back, come down from the edge. And then, and then that's really, so if it's 7 feet tall, let's just, judge that if it's 6 feet tall, it would be 2 feet. So you could remove as much as 2 feet from all the ends of the branches. You want to cut a rubber tree when it's a little dry. Do it before you're going to rewater it again, and you won't have as much of the white latex sap oozing out of it. Okay, and then just keep it in bright light. And a lot of times, going into the off season like this, as the days are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, it's not the best time to prune it back, because the plant's just going to sit there for a while until it gets bright enough light to stimulate the new buds. The better time would be to do it in March, just as the days are getting longer, and you could actually move it outside, in higher humidity, and it would rebud. But it'll still do it inside. And it may take it a year and a half to kind of start growing new tips. No, it won't take a year and a half, but if it will probably take 2 full months before you get new tips on the plant if you do it at this time. But it's easy to do, and make sure you're using a good sharpened pair of pruning shears. Okay, then the next one is, do jade plants need humidity? Well, not really. In fact, you don't want to overwater a jade plant, and you don't want a lot of humidity around them, because that can encourage powdery mildew. And on a jade plant, powdery mildew doesn't give you that white fuzzy look that it does like on roses or lilacs outside. What happens is the mycelium grows of the powdery mildew grows over the surface of the leaf and grows into the stomates, irritates the surface of the leaf, so it makes this corky, patchy look, and it really looks awful. So so if you're seeing that, you want to use like a fungicide on the plant. The bio advanced 3-in-1 with the fungicide is a great one to use on a jade plant. But you move it out in the garage, you move it outside and spray it and let it dry. It's really good. And then, this is Maria again asking if cacti need humidity. Not really. They can live in a desert where the ambient humidity is 4%. And believe it or not, our houses get down to below 10% when our furnaces have been running nonstop all season. So they're the easiest ones to grow inside if you can give them bright, sunny conditions. Okay, can bonite systemic insect killer be used on herbs? No. Mara Dinsmore, that's a great question. No, it should not be used on herbs. It's not cleared for that. So that's where you use the 8, where it's sulfur and pyrethrin, and it works really well. Okay, this is Peggy again. My houseplants, 2 of them are 7.5 to 8 feet tall. I'm uncomfortable spraying insecticide into the air around me. Any suggestions? Well, yeah, Peggy, use the systemic granulars, and you sprinkle that, and based on the size of the pot, it's 2.5 tablespoons per 6 inches. So if your pot is 18 inches, that's 3 times 6. So that would be 3 6-inch equivalents. So 3 times 2.5 would be 7.5 tablespoons, and sprinkle it over the surface, and then water it through. And that it will probably take, for 7.5 to 8 feet tall plants, it's probably going to take 2 weeks for that insecticide to go all the way to the ends of the branches, but it will work. And then just do it every 2 months, and your plants will be really nice and healthy. Great questions. You guys are excellent. Here's Maria. My croton loses its leaves when I bring it in. What's the best care indoors? Okay, the croton does like a lot of humidity, and the croton loves the brightest light you can give it. So a south window or a west window, and put it as close to the window as possible. Did y'all know that when you move a plant 6 inches closer or 6 inches away, it changes the intensity of the light by 50%. So, croton, because of that beautiful colored foliage, loves to have really bright light, or put a plant light on it, add a plant light to it. Okay, here we go. And then Joseph Sanson, many thanks. Will this PowerPoint be emailed? It's not emailed, but you can always go to the handout was sent you in an email, in a link. But the presentations are on the Chalet YouTube video channel. So you can either get to that from the Chalet webpage, where it's up in the upper right-hand corner of the webpage, and it's a little rectangular box. You can barely see it. Put your reading glasses on, and it has an arrow, pointing arrow that, it points to the right, and you click on that, and it goes to all of our videos that are on the YouTube channel. Great question. And thank you. You're such an inspiration. Thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate that so much. Okay. And this is Jessica. How often do I water succulents once I move them indoors to help them adjust? Oh, it was watered almost daily outdoors because it was in a pot with other plants and did amazing. Great. Okay. What I would do is drop that watering to once a week once you get it inside, because of the other plants. I need to kind of know what the other plants are. But all of them, you should get them on a schedule of once a week. Okay. And once, if it gets real dark, because of the gray days of winter, then you can reduce that to once every 2 weeks. And I think they'll be just fine. Great questions. Guys, you guys are incredible. Okay. This is Peggy. How long should you keep the plant in the shade outside before bringing the plant inside? Wait a minute. How long should you keep the plant in the shade outside before bringing the plant inside? I don't think I understand that. I don't understand that. Yeah, I don't understand that, Peggy. Because, yeah, I don't understand that. I'm sorry. Okay, Linda W. What is the best way to treat for scale? Okay, the best way to treat for scale is to spray, use the systemic in the soil, and then spray with the systemic, either the rosin flower or the that's from Biotone, or the insect disease and mite control. And when you spray the leaves, and then it's absorbed immediately. And when the scale is sucking the juices of the plant, it's going to kill the adult under the scale. Now, here's something: it never kills the eggs. You would never want to use it's an ovicide is when a product that would kill an egg. You never want to use that. We can't even sell it. But what happens is it stays in the plant for 30 days or 2 months. And whenever the eggs hatch and they start sucking the juices from the plant, they get killed too. And those are the crawler stage. So that's the only time scales move around, is when they have just hatched and they're the nymphs. We call them the crawler stage because they have, they have legs and they move around. Okay, so that's, great questions. Okay, now this is Roseanne Sawyer. When using a grow light, I thought hours of light should be the same as outdoors to promote flowering for some plants. Should you always leave grow lights on for 16 hours? Well, what happens is that's the amount of light that gives you the equivalent of a full sunny day outside, and the intensity. So it depends on what flowering plant you're working with. So like short day plants that are triggered by short days, That's poinsettias, some of the orchids. Well, a lot of the orchids are triggered by short days. So, so if if you're using a light to trigger bloom, then you do want to keep it at 12 hours or less. Okay. Does that help? That was an advanced question. That was an advanced question. I like that. Okay, here we go. Okay. There's a great book, Roseanne, from Leslie Halleck. We sell it here at Chalet. It's on lighting, and how to use lighting, how to understand lighting, and it's excellent. It is excellent. I sat on a board with Leslie for many years. It was about 8 years, and she's a genius. She's from Dallas, and she's a genius. Okay, Terry Amarati, you mentioned adding acid to certain plants. Well, that's kind of an extreme way to put it. The better term is how to acidify the soil. That's a lot of plants like an acidic soil, and hibiscus do not need to be acidified. They're just heavy feeders. So just make sure you fertilize them every time you water them, and they'll be really happy. Would you recommend adding acid to the soil and feeding that once before it comes in? On hibiscus, I would plan to, I would use one of the granulars, like the Dr. Earth on a hibiscus. I'd get one more cup of that in the pot while it's outside and water it in. So you're not going to smell it when you bring it inside. And so we still have 3 weeks before we have to get the plants inside. And a hibiscus, I leave it outside at the very end because they love that full sunlight. And then switch to the Dynagrow to use indoors and use that every week when you water. Great question. And then the acidification is done more gently with coffee because of the acidic nature of coffee, rather than adding acid. Sounds kind of hard to me, but that's what you're doing, but it's just sounded a little, I don't think I would never say, I say acidify the soil rather than adding acid. Okay. All right. So then this is Joan G. Suggestion for bringing inside if you don't have a sunroom. How do you stage it to get used to indoors? East windows. Well, put them as close to the window as possible. It depends on what kind of plant you're talking about too, Joan. And then get a plant light. And then the neat plant lights that we have will actually fit in regular table lamps, and will give you the full spectrum of light, which means it's all from the red range all the way through the blue range of light, and it can really help houseplants. So that was a great question. Okay, and here's Terry again. Regarding bringing in begonias, would you recommend the same process as you outlined here, as well as cutting a third and repotting? Sure, absolutely. Begonias are actually a plant that you can actually take cuttings and get them to root. And the Dynagrow company has a beautiful gel, a rooting gel that you can stick the cuttings in and then put it in potting mix. And it has the two different rooting hormones. It has IBA and NAA. And then the cool thing about the gel is it sticks to the stem and it doesn't come off when you stick it into soil. So, and you can also root in water. I'm not a real fan of encouraging people to root in water, but it's not all the time. And the problem is the roots that form in water are different than the roots that form in soil. So the energy it takes from the cutting to form the water roots is pulled out of the plant, and then it has to use more energy to make those soil roots. So it can really deplete a cutting a little too much. So I always like to try to root them in soil. But that gel is incredible. The other cool thing about the gel is you can put it on a cutting and actually stick it in water and it stays on the cutting. So cool. It's a little more expensive, but man, it's worth it. Okay, great. And then this is Gray. I have so many pots, especially large ones without draining holes. Ooh, that's terrible. Should I get rid of these, or how can I use them? I can't seem to find plastic pots to fit inside because of some of their odd shapes. Oh boy, I understand. That's the best way, is to try to get smaller pots that will fit inside those. The beautiful They're called cache pots. That's the French term for a holding pot. They're great because you don't have to worry about water getting on all of your floors or on your furniture or on your carpeting when you have the plants in those. But boy, it's just disaster for a plant to be potted in those. And what I would say is that you give the plant an 18-month death sentence. They'll last about 18 months. But then what happens is our water is so mineralized that the plant uses the H2O. H2O evaporates out, and all those minerals stay in there. And over time, over 18 months, those minerals start combining indiscriminately and turn into salts. Then you get a salt situation that kills roots and damages roots. And so it's impossible to leach. So that's why I just really hate, encouraging people to use pots without drainage. You double pot them. So you have, but I understand when you say you've got really odd shapes, that's the challenge, so just realize that, be prepared to repot them and repot and knock a lot of that soil, which is not the best thing to do, but repot them every 18 months. Okay. And that would be a semi solution. Good questions though. Okay. And this is Barbara. Any tips for Christmas cactus? This is the first time I put it out for the summer. Oh my gosh. Yes, Barbara. What you want to do on a Christmas cactus, leave it out a little bit longer. You want to get them in before the hard freeze, but leave them out when the night temperatures are in the 40s and touching even a little bit lower, like even the upper 30s. That's going to trigger the Christmas cactus to go into bloom sooner. It's one of the neat tricks I learned from one of the great growers out there. So keep fertilizing them, keep watering them, and leave them out a little bit longer. Okay. You'll be amazed at how they set buds. Okay. And then this is Joseph Sanson again. Can you go over cutting the root ball briefly? Oh, sure. Does this need to be done to all plants coming inside? Oh, no. It doesn't have to be to all plants. No. This is just if you need to repot them. And I actually prefer saving this chart to March before they're going to go, before they're going to be exposed to longer days. But the way you do it, you take the plant out of the root ball. You can cut as much as a third off of the bottom of the root ball. I actually, for like an 8-inch or 10-inch, pot, I'll cut off 2 inches off the bottom, and you really feel like Attila the Hun. You want to use the sharpest knife. I even use a serrated kitchen knife and just saw right through it. And you're just cutting a whole bunch of roots off. You're like, oh my gosh. But what you're doing is you're stimulating the cut roots to grow, and they grow fresh, young roots, and it really rejuvenates the plant. So you cut the 2 inches off the bottom, set it back upright. And then instead of trying to cut an inch circle off all the way around, it's so hard to do. I just cut an inch off the north side, an inch off the south side, an inch off the east side, and an inch off the west side. So it kind of squares the root ball up, and then put it back in the same pot with fresh potting mix in the bottom, because roots grow down and out, and then fill the potting mix around where you've cut the sides, and then water it in well. Give it a good fertilizer. I like the Root and Grow or the Dyna-Gro, and it's really good. Great question. Okay, and then this is anonymous. I love the anonymous attendee. For herbs that are in my window box and I want to bring indoors, I will need to put in pots. Oh, okay. So would I just pot them and sit in water with or without dish soap for 15 minutes? Okay, wait. For herbs that are in my window box and I want to bring indoors, I will need to put in pots. I think if you're going to be taking them out of the window box and just digging them out of, a fully planted window box, you'll put them in like 6-inch pots or 8-inch pots with fresh potting mix, and don't sit them in water. And no, I would just water them well. In a window box, you usually don't have a lot of insects, that are in them. So I wouldn't worry about that. But you'll know once you get them out of the window box, you'll see any insects. You'll see any insects. And if that's the case, then I would use the 8, and it has the sulfur and the pyrethrin in it. And I would just unscrew the cap and just pour it gently through and let it run through the soil. And that does a really good trick. Great. Okay, now Peggy again. Well, the insecticidal soap kill eggs and live worms. Now, live worms makes me nervous. If it's caterpillars, it will. Insecticidal soap can kill eggs like spider mite eggs if you cover the whole thing. And so it can. The problem with insecticidal soap is you almost have to shellac the whole plant, the above leaf, the above surface, the lower surface, all the stems. And it's a lot of work, but you can do it. You can do it. And then, but if we're talking about worms like earthworms in soil, no, it won't. It won't. Okay. These are such great questions. Okay, here's Anonymous again. Is there an organic systemic insecticide? I am so sorry. There is not. There is not. There is not. Yeah, so sorry. Isn't that terrible? Okay, I sure wish there were, but there's not. Okay, and then Georgia. All right. Stanic Finkel. I put houseplants such as rubber trees, fiddle leaf fig, and a palm outside, but I take them out of the plastic pots and put them in a big terracotta pot. So now to bring indoors, I need to repot. Oh yeah, you do. Okay, first, is that bad for the plants? And should I leave them in the plastic liner pots? You know what? It can be a shock. It can shock them a little bit because if it's a bigger pot and then you have to reduce the root ball to put them back in the small plastic pots, I would encourage you to pot it in like the traveler pot and just set it in your terracotta pots. You can actually set them in soil that's in the terracotta pots and just make sure it's well drained. So when you water, it all drains through. But I would keep the root balls intact, just because, especially for some of them like fiddle leaf figs that can get real fussy. They'll act very offended once you take them out of a bigger pot and try to put them into smaller pots. When I say offended, that means they'll lose leaves, the tips will turn brown. So that's kind of the situation on that. Good questions. Gosh, you guys are great. Okay, and here's Maria again. Thank you so much. My plants are going to be so happy. Oh, thank you. Thank you. What a nice compliment. Okay, and then Jessica, follow up on my question. Now the succulent will be alone and repotted, not with others. Oh, nice. Okay, that's great. That's great. So then with the succulent alone, then when you repot it, you want to use a really well draining soil. You want to use the mix from the top of the pot to the bottom. Don't put any gravel or anything in the bottom. Cornell University did research and found that when water is running through, and draining through a container, it has to stop when you have different materials. So if you have gravel in the bottom to help drainage, the water has to stop, reorient physically based on physics before it drains through. So just have the same potting material all from the top to the bottom, and then just make sure you water and let it drain, and then use the Dynagrow on it. There's a Dynagrow also has who has a great succulent fertilizer is Schultz, the Schultz company, and they have these little eyedroppers, and it's a really low in nitrogen, which can be a little bit better for your succulents. But I still think the Dynagrow is excellent. So either one that you have, and then I would drop it down to watering it every 2 weeks, middle of December all the way through January, once a month, but keep it in a cool window. Keep it in a cool window, and as sunny window as you have, and right in the cool window. Okay. Great. Okay, and then this is Eric and Jane. Oh, I like that. Okay, Eric and Jane, did you mean fertilizer should be used weekly even when hibiscus plants are inside for winter? Absolutely. They are such heavy feeders, and my attitude is when you have a plant indoors, it's room temperature, so it's like being outdoors. If you have it in bright light, it's going to do the same thing, as it would outside. So go ahead, and there's a lot of people that say, don't fertilize, cut your fertilizer back in the slow months, in the winter months. If we're having bright sunny days and you have that plant in a bright sunny window, or you have it in a plant light and the temperature is 72, go ahead and keep fertilizing it. It'll keep blooming like crazy. And that's why we have plants. We like to enjoy them. So excellent questions, everybody. I've gone way over time, but okay, here we go. And So, and then there's no, I'll check the chat, and there's 7 comments in the chat. Okay, okay, here we go. We're going to go all the way to the top in the chat. Will my potted bougainvillea transition indoor well using these same techniques? Absolutely, absolutely. But this is from Jen to hosts and panelists. I don't see who this is. But yes, but now the bougainvillea it kind of does a funny thing. Sometimes it will drop all its leaves at the end of December. So don't panic, because it'll regrow. Okay, this is gray. Okay, you have, okay, I have so many pots, especially large ones without drainage holes. Oh, I did this one already. Okay, great info from Usha. Thanks, Usha. Okay, thanks for inspiring me to get ready for this project. This is from Renee. All the best. Thank you. Jackie Rosenthal. Thank you. Still love the terrarium we made in the winter class. Oh my gosh, how much fun. Okay, James, thank you so much. Very helpful. Thank you, James. Okay, and then Jessica, thank you so much. This was so helpful. Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Very helpful. This is from Heidi. Terry, quick question, please remind me. Do you recommend that we repot all of our plants? No, Terry, only if they've gotten too big to stand up. Wait to do the repotting. The better time to repot is in March, okay? So you don't just automatically repot your plants, okay? And I think I got all the way. I did. So, oh, and this is Peggy. Could you do a similar webinar in the spring to explain how to move plants outside without getting sunburned? Excellent idea, Peggy. Okay, I love the suggestion. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so now I still have 38 people. Boy, you all are the best. Thank you so much for sticking with me. We've gotten rid of took care of all the questions. I think I did that. Oh, no. Oh, let's cancel that. I did the wrong thing. That we're just taking the chat box down. And, oh, I think I got rid of all of us here. Oh, no, here we go. No, I can actually say goodbye officially. So thank you, everybody. This was wonderful. Your questions were great, and I'm so flattered and so honored that you're staying so loyal to our chalet virtual webinars, and me in particular. So thank you so much. Bye now.